Hello and welcome back to DotNet in Minutes. Today we are talking about a tool almost every .NET developer uses, Entity Framework Core. Entity Framework Core can make you incredibly productive, but it can also quietly destroy performance if you don't understand what's happening under the hood. So, in this episode we are going practical, real tips, real gotchas, and the mistakes people keep repeating in production. By the end, you'll know how to use Entity Framework Core like a pro, not like a demo. Entity Framework in one sentence. Entity Framework Core is an ORM. It lets you work with C# object while it generates SQL behind the scenes. That's a good part. The risk part is if you don't control it, Entity Framework will generate queries you didn't expect, pull data you didn't need, and track entities you never planned to update. Pro mindset. Entity Framework is a query generator. Your job is to control the queries. The number one rule. Always think about the SQL. If you want to level up with Entity Framework Core, adopt the habit. Whenever you write a link query, imagine the SQL it will produce. Two devs can write link that looks similar, but one generates a single efficient SQL query and the other creates multiple queries plus huge memory usage. So, pro rule. Prefer queries that translate cleanly. Avoid accidentally switching to client-side evaluation. Use logging to inspect generated SQL. Tracking versus no tracking. Tracking is one of the most important Entity Framework concepts. When Entity Framework tracks entities, it keeps them in memory so it can detect changes and generate update statements later. That's useful for write operations, but unnecessary for read-only endpoints. So, for APIs that mostly read data, tracking can become a silent performance tax. Pro tips. Use AsNoTracking for read endpoint, like you see in this example. Even better, if you need identity resolution but no updates, use AsNoTracking with identity resolution. The N+1 problem. This is the classic Entity Framework gotcha. N+1 queries. It happens when you load a list of entities. Then, for each entity, you load related data separately. Example, load 100 orders, then query customer for each order. That's 101 queries. Solution. Use eager loading with include when appropriate, like in this example. But also don't abuse include, which brings us to the next section. Include abuse and overfetching. Include is powerful, but many developers use it like a hammer. They include everything: customer, items, product, supplier, history. Suddenly, one endpoint returns a 2 megabytes JSON and takes 2 seconds. Pro mindset. Don't load what you don't need. Use projection instead. Select one field required for the API, like in this example. Projection is one of the most powerful performance tools in Entity Framework Core. Pagination done right. Never return 5,000 rows. Even if your database can handle it, your API and client won't. Use pagination, skip and take. Like this example, var page equal await context.users .AsNoTracking .order by .skip .take .to list async. Pro tip. Always apply order by before skip and take, or result can be unstable. Transactions and save changes. Entity Framework wraps save changes in a transaction by default when multiple changes occur. But the complex workflow, you may want explicit transactions. Also, understand that save changes can be expensive. It runs change detection, generate SQL, and execute commands. Pro tip. Avoid calling save changes inside loops. Batch operations when possible. DbContext lifetime and thread safety. DbContext not very safe. Never share one DbContext across threads. And never register it as singleton. In ASP.NET Core, DbContext should usually be scoped. One per request. Common bug. People start background tasks using the same DbContext from request. That leads to random exceptions and data corruptions. Now let's speak about performance. Indexes, compile queries, split queries. Entity Framework can generate good SQL, but your database still needs help. Pro tips: make sure columns used to where and join were indexes. For heavy queries used frequently, consider compiled queries. For huge includes, consider as split query to avoid massive join explosions. But split queries can increase round trips. Use them strategically. Here are real gotchas. Lazy loading surprise, if enabled. Serializing navigation properties causing circular reference JSON errors. Mapping mistakes causing duplicate inserts. Data time, kind, time zone issues. Not handling concurrency conflicts. Raw versioning. Entity Framework is powerful, but it rewards discipline. Now to recap. Think about SQL. Use NoTracking for reads. Avoid N+1 queries. Project into DTOs. Paginate. Respect DbContext lifetime. Entity Framework can be super powerful as long as you control it. So guys, thanks for listening to .NET in Minutes. See you in the next episode. Bye bye.